Good evening, Brendan. Good evening, Melbourne. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live here from lockdown Melbourne. We're still connecting over the wonders of the internet, so entrusting this time to, of course, the intercession of Saint Michael, because we had a bit of a problem at the end of last week, Brendan. But can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly clear, perfectly fine. I think the internet is strong. You're looking clearer than ever, Father. So I feel like people have been praying for us.
Maybe somebody came in and installed, what's this, gold stream broadband or something that you want me to get?
Fiber optic fiber, 1,000 gigabytes per second. Oh, no, wait, that's wrong. 1,000 megabytes per second.
Yeah,
That's what we gotta
we're
get.
still going with the Optus 4G satellite giga machine, and we're just hoping that it works. So thanks for those of you who are joining us live this evening on YouTube. Make sure you drop some comments into the com box. It's always good to engage with you. Jerry says, I'm very echoey already. Wow.
It's actually, that's one thing. There seems to always be the echo. If I'm listening back, I'm like, there's this bit of echo. I don't know what it is.
Neither do I now. Now you've got me really worried. Let's see whether that makes it any better. But otherwise, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Episode 25, Brendan. This is quite... It's amazing in the sense that we're still going and people are still tuning in. But also the fact that, like when we started it, we sort of maybe thought it'd go for a couple of weeks until the end of lockdown. But the fact that we are still in lockdown 25 weeks later, how are you feeling?
It's just, like you can't, I think everyone hits the point where you're just like, you go from, I'm totally done with this to being like, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm getting through it right now, right in this moment. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. Let's just stop. Let's stop the lockdown. Let's stop the curfew. Let's stop the. Look, that's how I'm feeling. But I feel like on the whole, in general, I'm all right. I'm doing fine. It's nice to be at home. I was just thinking before, what are the things that I'm grateful for about being in lockdown? And I had two things.
And now you can't remember them.
I was thinking about doing it for a top five, and then I'm like, no, I've only got two things.
I was about to say, you can't remember two of these. How are we going to go with your top five a little bit
No,
later?
that's what they are. What they are is I'm glad that I don't have to commute to work. I don't miss that. I don't miss having to commute to and from work. And then the other one was, I literally wrote it down and I've forgotten what the other one. Time with family. Extra time with family.
I miss a bit of a commute, actually. Time in the car. Like, I got in my car earlier in the week for the first time in like almost 2 weeks. And it was like, oh, I miss this. I miss the drive. I don't know whether, I suppose the car is often a bit of time where I get a bit of time on my own. Some of the only time in my day where I'm on my own, or I get to make a few phone calls, sort of catch up with people who otherwise I don't get to speak to. So I miss the commute, actually.
Yeah, but every day, I get it. Like when you're going back in the car and you go for a drive somewhere, I agree, it's amazing. But when I think back to the kind of everyday, because I used to be like a 40, 50-minute commute. So, but actually, no. You know what I do miss? I do miss like listening to podcasts on my drive.
Yeah.
Like that was my podcast / audiobook time / listening to new music. So, no, I get you.
What are you listening to audiobook wise at the moment?
Audio, I've started, it's called Lord of the World.
It's great. Robert
Is
Hugh
it?
Benson.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you say, because
I think it was in my top 5 reading books.
Was it?
Yeah. That was a long time ago when we did that top 5, but
yeah, maybe we might have to revisit.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Look, I think it's just the prologue or whatever I'm starting off with, but I'm listening to it as an audio.
Have you never read it before?
I've never read it before.
Oh wow! Okay, well you're in for a treat, man. It's
Good.
great.
Okay, okay. I've just got to push through this prologue because it's good. It's talking about at the moment. It's talking about how like the church had been, I don't know, destroyed up until that point, or how things like pretty much filling you in on the history of what's happened.
Yeah,
but I feel like
you'll love it. So I strongly recommend Lord of the World.
I will power on through.
Push through. Are
you listening to any audiobooks or podcasts?
I've just started Ice Station by Matthew Riley.
Oh,
Have you read it or listened to it?
Okay. Matthew Riley is by far the best author that I've ever read in doing action, any kind of action, he is unbelievable. Like never is my heart has never pumped more reading a book. It's is it good?
Well, a little bit like you, I had to push through the sort of prologue.
Yeah, you do.
Um,
100%.
and I'm using Audible, which I think when we were doing sort of top five apps, I sort of said I'd never really got into, but
Right.
I'm enjoying this on Audible. So I'm enjoying listening uh,
I
audio
was I didn't
Audible.
want to say anything, but
Is it the echo or is it that I can't pronounce the word?
no, it's audible. Audible,
Audible?
not audible. That's a different. I
Not
don't know what audible
audioable.
is.
It's just
Oh, it's
audible.
just audible. Yeah.
No, that would be Orderable.
That sounds like a delivery app, I know, but it's audible.
Audible. That's all it
Yeah,
is. Okay. Well, that makes it a lot easier. I don't have to be embarrassed trying to say the word anymore.
audible. Yeah, that's a bit hard to say. Anyway, so you're reading on there. So the what is it? The reader. What are
Well,
they called?
I don't know, but
The
narrator.
reader is good.
Yeah, and there's like
Narrator,
sound
yeah.
effects, and
Ooh.
it's like he does accents. So yeah, no, I'm actually really enjoying that, and just enjoying having sort of a pure fiction just to sort of
Yep.
get into. So
Okay,
uh,
he's really good. He's written some other books as well that are good, except it's not spoiling anything, but basically he
but
portrays the Catholic Church as though it were a cult that worships the sun. I'm not
well,
kidding. That's why I stopped reading him. But otherwise, iStation's perfectly fine.
okay. So
But
no,
he's got some other books there that I was a little bit concerned about. But iStation
our
is a
station's
okay.
okay. Okay, well, I'm on that. So that's been something I've been doing differently this week to sort of try and
Mhm.
mix things up and get through this last bit of lockdown. The other thing, I've just been really lucky with some of the work I've been doing, that my days have been a little bit different, which
Hmm.
is for the first time in months now. I get to the end of the week and I feel like I've actually had a week because I'm doing sort of slightly different things on different days. There was a big period in the middle where every day was the same and there was nothing really that sort of distinguished a Monday from a Tuesday from a Wednesday. And I suppose uni students probably have different classes on different days, but that helps. But what about you? Like, are your days pretty much the same every day, or have you found
Uh,
ways to mark the middle of the week?
um, work's pretty much the same, but otherwise my sort of afternoons are always a bit different.
Yeah.
I've I just finished up playing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign with some friends on Monday nights. I died. My character died. It was a bit sad, but I was. It was a finally I've got a night free in my week, but otherwise that was really
Oh,
fun.
wow. Your
But
social calendar is freed up after the
well,
Dungeons and Dragons
oh,
campaign.
yeah, that's right. You wouldn't believe it, would you?
I'm sure
And
all
then
those girls are going to be knocking down the door now, Brendan.
so Tuesday nights we had Bible study.
Yes.
That's but hey, there's a new one starting up
Yeah, we'll have a bit of a chat about that later on. So
later on.
stay tuned for.
Stay tuned for that. And then I don't know, the rest of the week kind of just managed to always, yeah, my days felt different. And even at work, it's not sort of the same every day. So fortunately,
If you're listening live tonight and you've got any things that are making your days slightly different from each other, make sure you drop them in the comments. William says we've finally got through 25 weeks in that we've broken the internet, crashed out a few times, but we're still here. Thanks, William, for sticking it out. I
also,
really,
did you notice that they said the echo's good? It's fine. There's no echo. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure.
See, I'm just becoming a technological guru. To think,
That's it. So
25
next,
weeks ago, I didn't know the difference between an upload speed and a download speed, and now I can solve an echo with the pulling of one simple plug.
brilliant.
It's
No, that's
brilliant.
exciting.
What else is exciting, Brendan, is that we've got Mimi coming on later in the episode. For those of you who don't know Mimi, she's a great young Catholic from here in Melbourne, doing lots of great work. So we're really excited to have her with us. But before we get to that, of course, and I have to apologise. I may have been able to, I may have been able to fix the echo, but I forgot to load the graphics for Brendan's top 5 in. So we're just going to have to go back with the old Brendan's top 5.
I should just get it on a piece of paper and wave it in front of the camera.
Brendan,
Okay.
now this is popular demand from last week. Carryover of your top 5 takeaway restaurants. Top 5 hot... No, last week it was top 5 things to eat at KFC, I think. So now we're doing top 5 takeaway chips. What's number 5?
Top 5. This is a good one. Okay. Number 5, and you're going to be surprised why it's number 5, but it's number 5. This one's number 5 for a reason.
Yep.
It's Schnitz chips. Really good chips, right? But you're thinking, I'm sure there's some people thinking, like, why is that number 5? The reason why it's number 5 is because I used to work at Schnitz.
Yeah.
And when you work anywhere, I'm sure you feel about maybe the same about the KFC chips. There's the smell, it just brings back things. It brings back the memory of, I could not get the smell off me. Like, and the salt on my hands, it's not blood, but it felt like that. Like I couldn't get the salt off.
Okay, number 5, with a very personal reason, you've just wiped out sort of Schnitz chips. Number 4.
Number 4 is fish and chips. Chips.
They only come in at number 4. You must not have a good fish and chip shop near you.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. In Werribee, it can be a bit up and down. Sometimes the chips are good. Sometimes it's just like, are you kidding? Like, did you change the oil this week? Like, like I've got this one particular experience. I know the shop and I've never gone back there, but it was just the oldest oil I think that's ever been used. The chips were like, anyway, that's why fish and chips are a number 4 for me.
Okay, number 3.
Right. Number 3 is Hungry Jack's chips. They changed them. They're not fries anymore. They are very much chips. Have you had them?
I have. I do. They would actually, in my top 3, Hungry Jack's chips.
Because they're good. They're thicker now. They're actually chips. What else to say about it? I don't know. The salt's good. The salt's different to like, it's not just chicken salt. There's something else in there. It's probably got beef salt. Maybe not. Number 2 is McDonald's. McDonald's fries. I mean, come on.
Hit and miss. If they're fresh and hot, yeah, I'd agree with you, but not always guaranteed.
You got to ask them. You've got to say, can I have some fresh chips? And I feel like the person just says yes and then does nothing about it. Has anyone worked, if anyone's listening who's worked at McDonald's, can you tell me whether or not actually asking for fresh chips changes anything?
No, I doubt it very much. Tried an animations listening, and he said, I listened to a fascinating, unusual, and strangely presented British radio drama called Achy Den Den. This is what happens when you read a comment. Maybe that was in reference to audiobooks.
Audiobooks, yeah, gotcha.
It's got nothing to do with hot chips. So
I've never heard of it, but that's
go for it cool. In the order. I think
that's my favorite chips as well.
Jerry had no idea that you worked at Grilled. She's a bit shook up by the whole experience.
But she likes Grilled.
Primrose loves the Hungry Jack's chips as well.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay, Brendan. So we've got Schnitz, fish and chips, Hungry Jack's, McDonald's. Number 1. I think
it's number 1.
Where you're going.
Yeah, it's KFC.
It's got to be. Doesn't
KFC it? Chips are fresh. Get them fresh. Get them with the chicken salt, right amount of chicken salt, not too much. I've never had too much chicken. One time I had too much chicken salt. Was caught without any water at hand. Shocking experience. I almost feel like I passed out driving on the way home. But if it ever has not enough chicken salt, it's like eating bland potato.
Right.
Okay, that's
nothing like bland potato to sort of ruin your drive home.
That's it. It doesn't make you as thirsty though. So I mean, there's some.
My top 5, Brendan, would have to, or my top 3 would have to be close to your.
Wait, can I guess?
5. Yeah.
Okay, so Hungry Jack's would be your number 2.
Yep.
McDonald's wouldn't have made it. Fish and chips. I think that's going to be your number 3.
Oh yeah, close.
That was your number 1.
Yeah, I just.
Really?
If you get good fish and chips.
Okay, where do you go?
Well, there's a place just down the road here. Sponsor, Sea Blue Fish and Grill, Mount Waverley. We haven't. No one's taken us up on our sponsorship request. So maybe the local fish and chip shop. No, they're actually really good here. So that's where I'm going to put my plug in. If anyone from Mount Waverley is listening, but yeah, Sea Blue Fish and Grill.
Seafood. Do you reckon they deliver to Werribee?
I doubt it in the current environment.
Can try.
Nando's, yes, Jerry. Nando's
Oh,
chips are pretty
Nando's
good.
chips.
Yeah.
Jerry, you always call me out.
And actually, do you know what? I would have to put in my top three, and I've only just thought about it. If we're going to go a bit broader,
Yeah.
the chips you get from Gammy Korean fried chicken,
Ooh.
they do a really good chip.
Is it a chip or a fry?
It's a chip. So
Oh, yeah.
Gammy chips.
Hey,
Sorry,
their Korean fried chicken is really good.
it's very very good.
And with the sweet chili sauce, am I right?
No, so you've got a bit of a sweet chili and chicken salt, man. You need to deepen your flavor profile, I think.
My taste buds are still maturing. Hey, fun fact, I got to do a secret customer at Garmy Chicken. Got to spend $70 and it was paid back. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I might. It's probably against terms and conditions, but that was
Catherine
me.
Migliore is listening tonight, and she agrees that Gammy chips are the best. So good on you, Catherine.
What was your number 3?
Well, I've now got 4. If I'm going to put Gammy chips at the top, fish and chips number 2,
Yeah.
KFC chips when they're done correctly, according to all
Really?
the standards, would have to be
Right,
number
there we
3,
go.
I think. Well, no, Hungry Jack's 3, KFC 4. So
Yep.
there
No,
we
that's
go.
good. No, that's good. If anyone wants to put their top 5, how they would rank it, I'd be curious to see.
So, Brendan, we've come through another Sunday without getting to Mass. What were you able to do today to sort of mark the Lord's Day?
I was able to get some prayer time in. Was able to listen into a mass,
Yep.
watch a mass. It was good. No, it was beautiful. Very beautiful mass.
It's obviously still sort of a challenge for people, and it looks like we're going to be this way for a little bit longer. We've seen in regional Victoria in the past week the restrictions open up a little bit, and cafes and bars and pubs being allowed to open with limited numbers indoors, but churches still seem to be pretty low on the priority list. So I hope it's not a sign of what's to come here in Metro Melbourne when we get to that point as well, because we're seeing the numbers going down, which is a really wonderful thing. But the Archbishop released a letter to the people during the week speaking about the fact that he's been really pushing with the government to make sure that we're treated the same as these other organisations and institutions. I'm sometimes a bit fearful, Brendan, that the government thinks that the church is just full of old people, and that therefore they want to sort of protect old people by keeping churches closed. But there's so many young people out there who faith and attendance at Mass and the sacraments is such an important thing. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I think if you're a young Catholic and you're here in Melbourne, sending a really nice email perhaps to your local member of Parliament. Send it to the Premier maybe, but your local members probably the first step, and just let them know that you're really looking forward to, as a young person, the reopening of the church, and how important it is to you in your spiritual life, but also I think point out for them for your mental health and for your general well-being. So it's probably really worthwhile, because I have this fear.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. That from the government's perspective, that maybe churches are just filled with
and therefore it's a high risk environment where I think we were able to show in the first sort of after that first lockdown that we can actually open in a really controlled manner. And from my personal experience here at Mount Waverley, at least, when we did reopen, a lot of those old people, the people at high risk, stayed at home anyway, and we encouraged them to. We said that even though we were reopening, that for their own safety and for their own health, it was probably best at this point that they still remained at home. But for those younger families, people with small children, those younger people who weren't at such high risk, we were able to reopen for them in a really safe way, in a managed way. And sometimes I go into the supermarket down here in the middle of the week, and there could be 200 people in the supermarket, and they're all touching things and touching trolleys and picking up fruit and putting it back and going through cash registers. And I think, do you know what? Our church sort of is a lot cleaner and more
Less,
sterile and
yeah.
less traffic than this. So we're really hoping and praying that we'll be able to open our churches as soon as possible. So yeah, if you are listening tonight, it might be worth getting out your pen and paper or writing an email, obviously respectfully, but just pointing out to your local member that it's that this is something that's really important to you and that it's something that you believe can be done safely and with all care for the elderly and the frail and the most vulnerable at this stage. But otherwise, in the meantime, we've got to keep sort of building our faith at home, reflecting on the Gospels. And we had a pretty interesting Gospel this weekend with the another parable from Jesus. And this was the parable of the landowner who chooses to pay people who come to the party, so to speak, come to work later in the day, the same as he chooses people who have been working a whole day. And there's this question of justice. And it's a really interesting one because sometimes we can find ourselves being a little bit sort of challenged, I suppose, in the area of our faith and how God treats us in comparison to other people. And Jesus reminds us in the gospel today that we shouldn't be comparing ourselves, and that we should be appreciative of God's generosity, and that He is generous to all of us. And this is something that we need to remind ourselves of. And I think, obviously, in the current circumstance where there's a fair bit to be a little bit upset about, to be challenged by, to be questioning, reminding ourselves of the generosity of God to us is a really important thing. And reminding ourselves, even in those times where we see other people, you know what I mean? We could be sitting here this evening going, well, Lord, we've been faithful to you all these years, and look at the people of New South Wales. They're allowed to go back to Mass and we're not, if you know what I mean. It would seem that He's being more generous to people other than ourselves at the moment, where Jesus says, well, just remember and remind yourself of the generosity that He has shown to you and His graciousness. And while it may seem that He's being more gracious to others, don't be sort of distracted by that. Don't lose your own peace and sense of peace by that. And of course, we heard in the first reading from the letter to the Philippians, just this really simple line: avoid anything in your everyday lives that would be unworthy of the gospel of Christ. And I think so. I suppose we're avoiding, I suppose, in a particular way, that sense of comparing ourselves to others, especially in a spiritual sense, and really entrusting ourselves to the Lord. Is there anything that I suppose stands out to you from the parable, Brendan?
Yeah, the workers, like, I put myself in their shoes and I totally get them. Like, if I was slaving it out, if I was working hard right from the beginning, and then Joe gets, comes in right at the end of the day and ends up getting the same amount that I do, I'd be ticked off, to say the least. Like it totally makes sense, like their complaint, but I think that it's a reminder that God's ways are not our ways, and that Christ, the way that God thinks is not in a way that is not in the human way that we think. And what He says is that, not necessarily Christ. What is it? The landowner. What he says is exactly right. Like he gave what he promised. Like what was agreed was given. So, and it, like you said, to not compare ourselves to other people, and to really just have focus on what is the work that I need to do, and to be grateful for everything that we are given.
And it takes a real supernatural outlook to be able to do that, Brendan, to be able to look at somebody else who seems to have more than what we have, and to be grateful for God's generosity to them.
That's it. And we don't know what work they're doing necessarily, because we don't know the inner workings of every person and what they're going through. We don't know how hard each person is having it, or so I think that making those comparisons about whether or not someone's working harder than you are is a dangerous thing to do. So really focusing on what we need to do and being grateful for what the Lord has given us is
Yeah, it reminds me of a very wise priest once said to me, never look at somebody else and wish to have their life, or have their crosses. He said, because you don't know what cross they're carrying, that you can't see, and that the Lord gives each one of us a cross just heavy enough for us to bear. And it's very possible that you would never be able to carry the cross that they're carrying that you can't see. And I think that's so true, and it carries on, I suppose, from this gospel, is like, although a person may look to have many blessings and receive a lot from the Lord, we don't know what cross they may be carrying underneath, what burden they may be bearing, or what the Lord may be asking of them that we can't see. So being really conscious to really give thanks to the Lord for the graces that we have received and the blessings that He's given to us, and the justice that He shows to us, and that He shows to others as well, without trying comparing ourselves to each other. But one person that the Lord has given many blessings to is Mimi Lee, who we're very glad to have with us this evening, and she is sitting patiently in the waiting room. So we're going to cross to her live right now. Mimi, welcome. Can you hear us?
Hello? Can you guys?
There we go.
Hey.
Hey, Mimi.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Now, your microphone is just a little bit... Did you unplug and replug or something?
Oh, can you guys not hear me well?
Just...
It's a little bit like the phone call kind of vibe.
Oh, okay, let me try to... give me 1 second.
Okay,
right.
We're going to give Mimi 1 second to readjust her mobile or her phone. Brendan, anything else exciting happen in the week?
I've been cleaning my face recently. I've been really I'm not joking. I've been putting together this
Mimi, hurry up with the mic.
like a face routine to really clean the pores, you know? I think it's important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please, someone in the com box, save me from this, please.
Mimi back.
Greetings to Mimi, says Trident Animation, and welcome to the chaos of Sunday Night Live. Well, it just got a little bit more chaotic. You there now, Mimi?
No, we can't hear her now. That's all right. There's always got to be something that goes on.
We're going so well this evening.
So back to my face routine. I've actually started using eye cream, right? And I'm curious because if I'm using it on one eye, because I don't actually know if it's going to do anything. So if you start noticing that one
of those commercials,
wonderful, and one is the...
Do you fan it with the paper? That's the one that I always see when she does it on the morning television. She sells ice cream and fans it with paper to help make it dry faster.
Ice cream?
No, eye cream.
Oh, right.
Are you there, Mimi? Speak to us. Now we can't hear a word. Okay, while Mimi's doing this, what we might do is we're going to throw to a plug. So Tuesday night, we're starting a brand new faith formation series for young Catholics here in Melbourne. And it's going to go over 6 Tuesday nights and 1 Saturday retreat day. And it's being hosted by yours truly, Silvana Scarf and Christian Bergman. And we're going to be using the wonderful Symbolon series. So while Mimi just fixes her microphone, we're going to throw to this really quick plug for the series that starts on Tuesday night.
Catholicism is a whole way of life, but today it's not known. Many of the people who even come to our churches, they may know different aspects of the Catholic faith, but how does it all fit together? And what difference does it make for our lives? We wanted to build a program that opened up the big picture of the Catholic faith for every parishioner in a way that would shape their lives. We crafted 20 beautiful episodes that walk through the entirety of the Catholic faith. People going through this program will be able to understand their faith, know how to live it practically, and be able to articulate it to others.
Parishes are using Symbolon in a variety of settings. They're using it for men's and women's groups, for Bible studies, for RCIA. They're even using Symbolon to form their catechists and volunteer leaders in the parish.
In addition to using Symbolon in the parish, parishioners can go home, log on to the website, and watch the videos anytime they want.
The terrific feature of the digital platform is it allows every individual full access to these beautiful videos that display the wonder and richness of our Catholic faith, whether as individuals or as a couple wanting to do this together, or even as an entire family. They can get online, use their individual access code, and they have full access to these beautiful videos. They can study their faith in a profound and deep way.
The word symbolon in the ancient world described a clay medallion that was broken in half and when brought back together confirmed a relationship. And that's the word the early Christians used to describe the creed, the summary statement of our faith. The idea is that those who hold to the creed and live by the creed are brought into a relationship with Jesus Christ and the apostles of the early church. We wanted to call our program Symbolon because we want to bring people today back into communion with Jesus Christ and that faith that he originally proclaimed.
So that's it, friends. Starting this Tuesday night at 7 p.m. All the details can be found on the Melbourne Praise Facebook page. It's a completely free program. It's going to be something great. And Mimi, you're back with us.
Hey!
Hey,
Sorry
there we go.
before.
Good to see you. So glad to see you. We were just talking before the podcast started that I hadn't seen you since the end of last year. The last time I think we saw each other might have been at the Australian Catholic Youth Festival. And it just seems like so much has happened since then. And for those people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure, certainly. So I'm born and raised in Perth, but I moved to Melbourne when I was 5. So I consider myself a Melburnian. And you know, I was raised in a Catholic home and learned my prayers, but it wasn't until I went to like a youth group and spent a bit of time in this youth group, and I had you know, God really graced me with a moment to have an encounter with his love, you know, and my life has been radically changed ever since. And so from there, I've served in youth ministry. I serve in young adults ministry at the moment. And I just want to share, you know, all the goodness that I've received from God and just want to give that back to our community in Melbourne. So it's been such a crazy ride. And yeah, just so many things have happened in between then and now. So yeah, it's been great.
And what about this year? Like, I suppose, how has COVID-19 changed your plans for the year? Change what you've been up to?
Yeah, oh man, I think like for a lot of people, it really hit me hard at certain points. And before COVID hit, before the lockdown, I was working in the Archdiocese in the Office for Youth. But I finished my contract there and I kind of had like nowhere to go. So I took it as a sign from God to just rest, you know, just to like chill out and just go with the wave. And then COVID kind of hit and no employment opportunities kind of came around. So I was just really chilling and spent a lot of time in prayer, spent a lot of time outdoors, you know, with mask on and everything. And you know, not long after that, a couple of months ago, I was offered a job. So praise God, it's with a Catholic publishing company. It's been amazing, and yeah, God's been really good to be able to provide for me in that way. And yeah, it's been a mixed bag, I think. So yeah, it's been crazy.
During lockdown, is there anything you've been doing in particular to sort of look after your own faith and to grow in your faith?
Yeah, well, definitely, I've been, you know, on a lot of us can agree that it's definitely not the same as attending mass person to person. So I've been really trying to pick up my spiritual readings a lot more. I was reading, you know, just different books that I've had just stacking up on my shelf that I never got to touch before. So it's been a good opportunity to tap into a couple of those good books. And as well, just really diving deeper into scripture. And I think that's been such a huge revelation for me, you know, how important scripture is because we don't have access to the sacraments, and to have the word of God right there in front of us. It's it's been completely transformative in my own prayer life. So I felt like that's like a gold nugget in the midst of all this commotion about COVID.
The scriptures is it's sometimes a bit daunting for people who don't read the scriptures or haven't read a lot of the scriptures. Have you tackled it in a particular way, or you've just sort of dived in?
Yeah, I think I definitely did a mistake when I was younger of trying to read from Genesis to like, and man, that was difficult to take in. But I realized if I was given the advice of go into the Gospels, right? Go into that, get into that first, and trying to read slowly and doing Let Divina is a beautiful form of prayer of inserting ourselves into the Gospels, and journaling. Oh wow, like it's been so beautiful to journal and to write my thoughts down and my prayers down on paper. And I definitely encourage anyone who wants to change up their prayer life, like try to journal, because I feel like the moment you start writing, it just starts flowing out of you. And yeah, it's been quite a beautiful experience to be able to learn a form of prayer. So yeah.
And what about sort of other books? Like you mentioned, you've been reading a bit. Is there any sort of anything that you've finished that you'd recommend?
Yeah, definitely. So oh, I actually did Consecration to Saint Joseph by Father Donald Colloway. I have it right with me. Beautiful, beautiful consecration, 33 days, amazing. I can't recommend enough. Like, I have such a deep devotion to Saint Joseph now, and I think I've been trying to give it to every person that I know, like especially for young men. Like, oh, this is gold, guys. So I love the book so much. So I've been reading that, and I've been reading a bit of St. Teresa of Avila, the Interior Castle. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm trying to get there. Yeah, and I'm guilty of starting a lot of books, but not finishing it all.
Well, yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit more about the consecration, because I'm really terrible with novenas, and I very regularly start novenas and never finish them. So 9 days is a bit of a challenge for me. So I don't ever know what made me think that I would get through 33 days. But earlier in the year, I picked up a consecration to St. Joseph as well. That wasn't the Callaway one, but it was a similar one. And I think I got about maybe 14, 15 days in, and then I lost my way a little bit. But even those days were really good for me, and I'm at a parish dedicated to the Holy Family, and speak about the fact that obviously we know a lot about Jesus. We regularly go to our Blessed Mother, but St. Joseph sometimes we sort of don't quite know how to go to. Did you learn anything new about St. Joseph, or about building a relationship to him by doing that consecration?
Oh man, Father, I think I can't say enough about this consecration, because it has definitely transformed the relationship with St. Joseph and my relationship with the Holy Family in general, right? Like, I mean, for us, we pray to Our Lady, and we go to Jesus a lot, you know, we go to our Lord to pray, but St. Joseph just brings so much more of the earthiness of as humans, because I feel like even with Our Lady, how she's immaculately conceived, there's still like a little ounce of like, oh, I can't really relate because she was so perfect. But St. Joseph is like us in every single way, but yet he fulfilled the will of God so perfectly. And I was just like, whoa, you know, and for me, it's in my head, it's just St. Joseph leading me to Our Lady, and together they guide me to the Lord. And it's just been so beautiful. And I feel like lockdown has been that bad because St. Joseph is on my side, you know. And I've learned so much, like probably 99% of the things I've read, I just didn't even know that was a thing for St. Joseph. So, man, I can't speak enough about it. I would totally 100% with everything I have to tell you to go do it with a group. I did it with a group, and group discussions bring so much fruit out of that. Yeah, it's beautiful to do that in a group setting.
And obviously here in the Archdiocese of Melbourne, the Archbishop very early on in the pandemic sort of asked us to turn in a very particular way to St. Joseph and seek his intercession for the church at the moment, because for that very reason that he was the protector of the Holy Family. He was the one that was entrusted to look after both Jesus and Mary, and so turning to him, seeking his intercession and protection for the church now. is a really important thing. We just before you came on, we showed a preview for a faith formation program that we're starting on Tuesday nights for university students and young adults here in Melbourne. What about you in your own sort of journey of faith? How important has it been to really grow? You've spoken about the scriptures, but also about, I suppose, the tradition of the church and the church's teachings.
Yeah, man, I have such a deep love for our church's teachings. I don't know where I'd be without it, because I think in our world there's so many voices being thrown at us, and there's so many competitors for our attention. And what do we know is true? How do we know what is true out there anymore? And so for me, to lean on tradition and to lean on the church's teachings, to know that this is the foundation and this is the truth, that no matter what happens, this is the pillar of truth, that we hold on to that, then everything else will be okay. And that's such a beautiful thing about the Catholic faith that we have, is that tradition, knowing that we hold the truth and the complete truth. And, we'll never be swayed by the age, especially as we're moving more progressively in the world.
You obviously sound like you've got a really strong faith, and that's something that you really hold on to. Has it always been that way, or have you had times in your life where you've maybe questioned the church or certain teachings? And how did you tackle that?
Yeah, definitely. And with that question, I wasn't always like this. Actually, believe it or not, you guys both know me. When I was younger, I was very shy, like a very shy kid, never speak up, always in the back corner, definitely not who I am now. I was never into my faith. I never questioned the faith. I was just like, yeah, cool, this is what our family does. And my parents went through a divorce when I was 10, which really rocked my world upside down. And when I started thinking more about God, I was like, why would God allow me, who's innocent, I've done nothing wrong, why could I suffer like this? And so I kind of made a decision that God isn't real from the age of 10, and just went to church to make mom happy. And I was actually evangelized to at a church by some young adults, some youth leaders. And I first started going to these youth groups just for like the social reasons, and I think a lot of us can relate to that. But then there was a moment in time when I felt the presence of God in my heart that I could tell that it could not be imitated in any other way. And from then on, I just started to seek the truth. And I'm the type of person that I don't like to follow the rules just because it's the rules. I'm the type that kind of question a lot. And so I start questioning every aspect of the faith, of the Catholic faith. Like, why should I believe this? Why should I believe that? Why is this true? And I think the more I dive deeper into the teachings of the church, the more sense it made to me. And so logically, I was just like, okay, well, the Catholic faith is true. It has to be true. And there was a quote from C.S. Lewis that I kind of ran into one day, was that if Christianity is false, it's of no importance. But if true, it's of infinite importance. There can't be in between where it's moderately important. And so it was like a hit in the head. I was like, whoa, it's kind of like a 0 to 100 kind of thing. Like, you can't be in between. You kind of either believe, don't believe. I just kept chasing the truth and the knowledge of the faith and the church, and to really enforce myself in sacraments a lot. And I think it really came out of that suffering. And that's why I believe that, suffering can bring beauty. You might not just see it now, but it will happen. So, yeah.
It's beautiful, Mimi. And I suppose the church at the moment is suffering a little from being closed, and so many faithful are suffering from being kept away from the sacraments that you speak of. What do you hope to come out of this for the church going forward? Here in Melbourne in particular, as a young person, what's your hope that coming out of COVID-19 the church might look like, or what beauty, what hope is there, at least in your mind, for the church going forward?
Yeah. I think at first I was really scared for the church to know that, oh no, mass isn't happening. It's already hard enough to fight for young people to come to church, and now there's no church for them to go to. Like, what's going to happen? But I think through time during this lockdown, I started to have a change of heart and really pray that, okay, this is a new season in the church. And if history can tell us anything, whenever there's been a crisis, saints have been raised. Saints have come out of that like Phoenix, and they've gone to evangelize, right? And so for me, it's a hopeful kind of season to know that there are going to be some people that run away from the faith, and we can't stop them. But I know for certain there's going to be people who have been strengthened by this lockdown and are going to go out and proclaim the good news even more so than ever. And I think that's something very exciting for us to see, even within our priests as well and our religious, to have like them have all this fire kind of like holding inside them, and for them to kind of burst out in flames. And I think it's going to be great.
The priest bursting out in flames. Thanks very much, Mimi. That's a great image. I'm going to sleep well tonight. But I suppose it's so obvious that you're full of passion and zeal yourself. As a young Catholic woman, like, what role do you see yourself for young Catholics and for young women in the church in the years ahead?
Sorry, you completely cut off the important part, which was the question. I didn't really get that.
What role do you see for yourself in the church going forward, and for other young people, young women in particular, going forward?
Yeah, I think women have such a special place in the church, in that for women, we bring something that men cannot bring. And there's a sensitivity, a feminine genius in there, as JP2 would say, that only women can bring out. And I think the church is in need of that nurture, of that love, of that receptivity that only women can give. And that's going to be so beautiful to even see in itself what women can do in the future of the church. Yeah.
And you're not waiting for the future. You're doing something now with some of your friends, born out of this lockdown, a new podcast. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, when I was in this lockdown, I was having a lot of conversations. Like, what can you do? You just have catch up with people on the phone, or, via whatever, or even Zoom. And I realized I was starting to have a lot of similar conversations with my different friends about the faith, and us just encouraging each other. And I was just thinking, like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to be able to share this with other friends of ours that, I can't call up every person on my phone book and tell them the same thing. And so I kind of proposed it to my two girlfriends that live in Adelaide and Sydney, out of all places. And I was like, hey, would it be such a crazy dream of ours to launch a podcast? And they were so on board, and they were so into it, and they were the one that was just keeping me fired up, because there were so many moments of doubt when I was like, nah, no one's gonna listen to us, or nah, that's crazy. Like, who are we to talk about the faith? We're not anybody, But we really kept it as a mentality of like, look, we're just gonna share our stories, we're gonna share our faith. And we're going to be raw, and we're going to be real, and we're going to share the beauty of the faith. Because I think there's so many negativity surrounding the church. There's not enough light that's shining in about the beauty of our faith. And that's our goal and intention, is to bring people with every episode the beauty of the faith, as well as being real and sharing our own stories that we've struggled, or the joys that we've experienced through living that. So we kind of just started it and launched last week, and it's been amazing response we've received. So, thanks so much, Father, for recognizing it too.
Mimi, if you had the chance to maybe sit in a room, or maybe online with two sort of experienced podcasters who are maybe 25 episodes into podcast, and you could ask them any question, what would you ask them?
I'm so sorry, Father. I'm not sure if it's my internet or yours, but your question got cut off again.
I was just saying, Mimi, if you had the chance, the joke doesn't work if I have to deliver it twice. I said, now you've frozen again. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
if you had the opportunity to sit in a meeting with two really experienced podcasters who were perhaps maybe 25 episodes into a podcast series, and you could ask them anything in the world, what would you ask them?
Oh gosh, who can I think of that might not be talking to already? I would ask, how do you keep the energy going every week?
Brendan?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's all right, Mimi. When you find out, you let me know, because sometimes I have to resort to talking about my facial skincare routines to keep the conversation going. So no, you let me know.
Well, I was going to say, one of the ways that we try to keep the energy going is by not preparing too much, by not over-preparing. But one of the downsides of that is that we sometimes end up talking about Brendan's facial routine. So it's sort of, there's positives and negatives. Well, no, but quite seriously, it's lovely to hear you're doing it, because we sort of started with a very similar sort of thing of, do you know what, there's young people out there, we're missing the opportunity to get together and have these conversations. So much of our faith growing and our ability to deepen in our own faith and our relationship with Christ is the ability to walk besides other people and to have these conversations and to discuss these things. So that's what Brendan and I try to do every week, is just have a bit of a discussion.
And you guys do it very, very brilliantly, must I add. You guys do it very well. So
you better give us the name of your podcast and where it can be found.
Yeah, so our podcast is Interior Castle, inspired by St. Teresa of Avila. And it's on a few platforms. So we find it on, Google, Spotify, on Apple, on... Gosh, there's a few others, but I think those are the main three people listen to anyways, hopefully. But our Instagram page is Instagram/Interior Castle Podcast, which is have all the information on there. So, And
I had to listen to the first episode during the week, and it's really quite encouraging. Not to mention that it follows that really sort of well-established podcast sort of thing of someone speaking over music at the beginning and then breaking off. It's great, where we just have this really bad audio track that we picked. We picked really on the
loud, but then leaves a little bit of an awkward gap in between. And we start talking.
That we picked 25 weeks ago, and we haven't done anything better to.
I think it's growing on me, Father. I don't think we should change it at all. But Mimi, I gave it a listen as well. I thought when it started off, I was like, ooh, this is good. So yes, to our listeners, definitely give that a listen, and I'm gonna chuck the some links down below in the com box so you guys can check that out.
Mimi, what have you missed most during lockdown that you're looking forward to doing once we get out?
Yeah, you know what? I just miss hugging friends. I just want to hug a friend, without having to worry about elbow tap distancing, like just a real bear hug to a friend. That's simple, but it's true.
Beautiful. And we've been asking all of our guests the same question to finish up over the last few weeks. Is there something that you learnt about yourself, or you're learning about yourself during lockdown, that you're really striving to gonna hold on to once we get out into the real world?
To learn that it's okay to not do something. It's okay to rest and not feel guilty about resting. And I think that's definitely something I can bring into after COVID, when life's going to get busy and ramped up again, and the importance of actually resting. So, I think that's going to be really good.
Thanks, Mimi. Brendan, anything else from your... Brendan's just disappeared from... Wow, we were doing so well with technology tonight. Hopefully he will join me. It's you and me. You're going to have to finish the podcast off with me. Unless you drop out as well. But thank you so much for being with us and for bringing... Oh, there he is back.
Oh, sorry.
Yay.
I thought you froze, but it was me.
No, it was you.
Anything else?
Do you have anything else, Brendan, for Mimi?
No, keep on going. I think the podcast, the first episode was really good, and I think the key is that you don't really worry too much about how many people are watching. Like the fact that we have people are watching us, even though we've had like some of the worst crashes and worst. But I think
people
it's beautiful.
Stack it out with us.
They stick it out, yeah, and that's it. And I think that what's important to remember as well is that people could be listening or tuning into 100 and other things in the world. And if you're speaking about the faith, the Catholic faith, and you're encouraging people to grow in their faith, I think that there's nothing better that people could be tuning into or should be turning into at the time that they're going to be listening to your podcast. So I think that take that as encouragement, that you're not just, one other voice of thousands of other Catholic podcasts. Like you're presenting a unique experience of a young Catholic woman in Melbourne, and your other friends in their states as well. And that's something that people are going to really be able to connect with more than necessarily, I don't know, a middle-aged woman, a Catholic woman in America. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's always going to be people that you can really speak into, and a community that you can kind of pour some of your heart out to. And so for all, like, and I mean, my message to the guys listening as well is that, like, I'm praying for you and thank you for listening. And I think that it's so important for building up a bit of culture and community in Australia that we kind of have this, that we have, like, as Catholics, we can do this sort of thing. Like, we can be creative, and your podcast is a beautiful reminder of that, and a kind of, hopefully it's something that it continues to grow, but you've just got to stick at it
and persevere through the breaking of the internet, because that's what we've done.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for the words of encouragement.
And Mimi, go back and read the comments in the com box, because people, our com box has exploded because they love you, and they really appreciate your ability and your willingness to give witness to your faith and your such obvious joy and passion. So thanks for coming on with us this evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Melanie.
We might get you back on as a special guest host some point in the future.
And you can give us some tips then too.
Yeah,
I'll see you, but you guys are doing great. Thank you so much again.
Cheers. God bless.
God bless.
Thanks, Brendan. It's been another great night. So just a really quick plug once again, for this coming Tuesday night, Unlocking the Faith During Lockdown. 6 Tuesday nights plus 1 Saturday. Will be finished by the end of October. A 10-part series using the wonderful Symbolon program, being facilitated by Christian Bergman and Silvana Scarf, both who are graduates of Campion College, and have lots of experience under their belt, and yours truly. So all the details can be found on the event on the Melbourne Praise Facebook page. But we're really looking forward to having people join us for that opportunity. We know there's a bit of Zoom fatigue out there, but it's not going to be like any other Zoom that you're in, I promise you. The fact that the three of us will be together and we'll be able to break down some of these really important topics of our Catholic faith will hopefully be something to help you. Due to popular demand, someone, could we please replace Brendan with Mimi Lee?
That's happy to swap out Mimi. You just let me know.
Brendan, you're gone. No, so please join us on Tuesday night. So all the details can be found at facebook.com/Melbourne Praise. Remember, you can download the podcast from melbournepraise.podbean.com or on the Google or Apple store. Brendan, another week come and goes in lockdown Melbourne, but thanks for being with us once again.
Yeah, that's it. Anyone, if you've got any ideas for top 5, we've gotten some, Jerry's helped us and Laura's helped us send in some suggestions. So if you've got any ideas, please send us an email at, melbournepraise@gmail.com.
Yeah, or maybe message us on Facebook, because I don't know whether we're actually checking Melbourne Praise.
I am. I've forwarded it to my email address.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you worry.
melbournepraise@gmail.com. Okay, guys, thanks very much. And again, just that reminder, during the week, we've got the Rosary at 12 and the Chaplet at 3, as well as Thursday Night Praise. So until then, thanks for being with us, and God bless.
God bless. Thanks, Father.